Kate, you're welcome. Kate Murphy.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Hello, Kate.
Hi, Paddy. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Kate.
Okay.
Hello.
Martin,
Martin
we
Egan,
can't
how are
see
you?
You're in all right.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm in.
And,
We can hear you, Martin, but we can't see you.
Yeah, I'm putting on the video now.
No bother, just letting you know. That's
yeah, hi Martin.
Oh, Billy, how are you?
Right. Now, Tom Murphy is lost somewhere.
I've texted him there, Billy.
In the swamp. What?
I've just messaged him to tell him to hurry up.
He's okay.
Oh, you're right.
He's just finishing up another meeting.
Yeah, I was talking to him a minute ago. I don't know why he's late.
He said he had another Zoom meeting, I know, running up to 7:30. So.
Oh, right. Oh, that could be it.
Yeah. Probably trying to chop over 14 so far.
I hope he's able to get in, because sometimes I find if you're finishing one and going on to another, it can be difficult enough.
Yeah,
Right.
is that right? Yes, yeah, kind of the two meetings, and he's coming in from the UK, but that shouldn't matter. Des Campbell coming in. Good, my successor. Hi, Des. If Tom doesn't come in soon, we can start, I suppose. But we'll wait. We'll give him a few minutes. And he's obviously trying to.
We could talk about him.
It's one sure way of bringing someone into a room if you start talking about them.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Billy.
Jerry, if Jerry wasn't on, we could abuse the past district governors.
It never stopped you before, man. I'm joking. I know Matt very well.
I'd say Tom is panicking at this stage now because he can't get in.
How's things, Nigel, in Birmingham?
Manchester. Yeah, no, it's good.
In Manchester, yeah. Manchester.
Yeah, basically, we've just had the announcements regarding the potential lockdown easing, but it's going to be a long process still.
Oh yeah.
Right.
We're looking at June here, I think, at the moment now.
Yeah, they've got different stages. The schools are going back in 2 weeks, and then they've got the next 5 weeks after that, and then it's going to be a rolling thing till summer. But yeah,
great accomplishment. Well done.
Well, they're not there yet.
Well, good plan anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, folks.
No bother.
Tom, you're here. Hey!
Oh, a slight technical hitch.
And there's Susan. We don't have a picture of you, Susan, but you're welcome. Susan's connecting to audio. Anyway, I think it's time to start. So now that Tom Murphy is here.
They always say, Billy, the best entrance is a late one.
Anyway, guys, you're all very, very welcome to this evening meeting of the Athlone Rotary Club. And we're very excited because we're going into Africa, like I said. And we're delighted to have Matt Porter and Elaine coming in from Rombo. Now, she's still with us, yeah?
I'm here.
Oh, you're there. Right. Okay.
Hi, Elaine.
Hi, Jerry.
Now, Matt is a businessman in Dublin, and but has been working on this Rombo project for some time, and has done fantastic work for Rotary in that area. And Elaine, now Tom Murphy will go into more detail later on, but Elaine is based out in Rombo, and she's on her phone from Rombo, would you believe, 4,000 miles away. And the monsoon is coming down heavily, but hopefully you don't have a leak in the roof there, Elaine. And we're all very much looking forward to this presentation on Rombo, which we're extremely interested in. So Matt, I'll hand over to you, and then you can introduce the video as well. And then if Elaine wants to say something, I leave it to you, Matt, to conduct it.
Okay. Thanks, Bill, and hi everybody. Most of you might have met me at some stage or other. I'm in the Rotary Club of Dublin Central. I was the district international chair for a good few years. So, and that's how I get connected with Rotary and with Elaine. Elaine's story is in brief. It's a long story, but the brief version, the quick version is she went down to celebrate her 40th birthday down to Africa to have the high life of game reserves and Mombasa by the sea and so on, and the Masai Mara. And while she was there, she got accidentally connected to a charity. That was 17 years ago, and she really hasn't come back. All that time, she's been our safe pair of hands down there, and that's not to be underestimated. We know in Rotary, we've got involved in projects that might have gone a little sweeter or better. And you know, it's always so important to have somebody on the ground that you can trust with every single hard-earned euro. I might add that, can I just say, first of all, that Rotary have done all this work. Elaine and I are vehicles for this stuff in many respects, but you guys in your club and other clubs around the country really have made the difference to thousands of children in the Rombo region. Rombo is half between Mombasa and Nairobi. It's at the foot of Kilimanjaro at the Kenyan side of the Tanzanian border. So we can see Kilimanjaro from where we are in the village. But Rotary is an extraordinary organization. You know, we're full of ordinary men and women, but we are extraordinary insofar as there are 1.2 million of us in 33,000 clubs in 200 countries. We've given $2.1 billion to things like polio. We're a phenomenal organization when we get behind something. And Rotary Ireland have got behind Rombo, and that's been an extraordinary journey. It has been an extraordinary journey over those last few years. You know, we're going to ask Elaine to tell us a little bit more about that. I would just like Rotary to know that the work they're doing has been a tremendous success. That's important. If we're to bring along people with us with fundraising and everything else, we need to be able to tell the story about how great we are, and that's something we don't do very often, and how great Rotary is in general. You know, and the other side of the coin is the work that's been done in places like Africa. And by the way, Rotary has choice. That's the fantastic thing about Rotary. You can concentrate on local and national projects. You can concentrate on international projects, and you can concentrate on anything you want. Or you can just be a club member that comes along to your club, supports your club in general, and doesn't favor any project. I think all of that is commendable. All of that is give back, and all of that is absolutely to be encouraged. We need to be able to tell the story of our work and other charities' work down in places like Africa. If I said to you that, if I asked you the question, in the last 20 years, the proportion of the world's population that lives in extreme poverty, has it doubled, has it stayed the same, or has it halved? Well, it's halved. And we need to know that it's working. We used to talk in the year 2000 about 30,000 children dying needlessly every day. 30,000. Now it's down to 15,000 and less. So our work is working. It's actually working. The work that Elaine has done in the areas of water, health, and education is working. It's absolutely fantastic. And when we go down there to see Elaine, you can see Jerry's been there and other people have been there. It's actually fantastic to see the work and to see it working. And Elaine has lots of projects that need funding, lots of projects that for anything from €50 to €50,000. And she has the projects. We just need to put our trust in her, send the money down, and she'll make it all happen for us. And that's not to be snuffed at. That's really good. But we need to know our work is working, and we need to be able to tell that story to people in our community. If I asked you a couple of more questions, and these are questions that I found from a guy called Hans Rosling. He unfortunately passed away, Hans Rosling, in 2017. His daughter and his son have taken over from him, and he churns out stats about what's actually going on in the world. He's Hans Rosling, a very important guy, worth a read. He has a new book called Factfulness, Here it is, Factfulness. Every Rotarian should have this book. Give it a bit of a read. It's a very exciting book, and it tells you what's going on in the world. And he tells a great story. He tells of the work that Elaine is doing and the likes of Elaine, that the work is actually working. So look, I think we're going to play, that's enough for me, I think, and by the way, we're available for questions and answers later on. I think we're going to introduce the sand dam video, which is a dam that we built down there with Rotary's help. We built it near Rombo, and it's one of the many success stories, along with the pipelines and the shallow wells, the deep boreholes, the schools, the classrooms, the desks, all of the medical equipment that we've bought, the most recent eye clinic, and Elaine might talk about that one. It's nearly finished now, and it's again, it's just a tremendous success. I've got to ask you two more questions. So what's happened to world poverty? You've got to know this one. You've got to know the answer to these questions. If I come knocking again, you've got to be able to tell me this. Extreme poverty is halved. So have a look at this video here, and let's see how we go. Can we see if that'll go, Tom, and see if we can hear the sound?
Was built in partnership. Rotary in Ireland, Sand Dam Foundation, and a UK charity called Excellent. Here we are at the foot of Kilimanjaro on the Kenyan side of the Tanzanian border. This is a seasonally dry river. It's now the rainy season. Soon this water will be gone out to the Indian Ocean. And all that will be left here is the sand that this rainwater has backed up against our sand dam. And in that sand, we can trap 20 to 30 million litres of water. In a few months' time, when we come back here, this will be just like a beach, and we can drop to our knees here and dig 2 feet, and it will be clean water. The sand will have stopped the water from evaporating, and we will have water for life here. Sand dams are the cheapest way to bring water to communities in the drylands, at a cost of £10 or €12 per person. We have about 1,000 people living in this area. At a time of drought, 10,000 people will come to this river. All of the labour associated with this dam was provided by local people free. They know the value of water.
Before the sand dam was built, how many kilometers or miles you can walk looking for water? They have to walk 10 kilometers or 20 kilometers to get water. Since the sand dam was built, they don't go and look for water anywhere else because there's water here. They want to start growing crops around the river.
Sand dams are hugely beneficial to the local communities. Something like 80% of the poorest people live in dry lands. One of the benefits of this dam is that the whole water table in this area has risen. A new spring has sprung up in the area just 100 yards from this river. Now that there's water in this area, we can have water for growing plants that people here will eat. They can store them, sell them, and use the money for educating their children. It's a tremendous success story and a tremendous way of bringing water into these dry lands.
Okay, thanks, Tom, for sharing that. It was an interesting little video to make. We've made many little videos like that. You know, the fantastic thing about Elaine, and I'll let Elaine speak now, is that she's there to make these videos to help us photograph the projects, the ones that we've completed, the ones we're about to start, the before and after, so we can actually see how these projects have made a difference. Elaine, I think it's over to you now if you want to say a few words. Is that okay, Bill?
Okay. Good evening, Rotarians from Athlone. Good evening from the bush in Kenya, where up till 2 seconds ago, I could barely hear with the rain that was pounding off the roof. Now, that's really good because we haven't had rain since October of last year, so you won't hear me complaining about it. Also, we had no electricity until an hour ago because of the rain, but for the time being, I have it, and so I'm going to speak quick in case it goes again. So first of all, let me say thank you for inviting me to join you this evening. It's my pleasure to address you all. I see some faces I know in there, including former DG Tom and Jerry, as well as Matt, obviously, and I think I met Tom and Bill previously as well. So it's nice to see you all again. As Matt said, our concentration here in Rombo is water, health, and education. Because if we can sort the three of them, there's no more problems. So that's the reality. So in the vein of water, you've seen a sand dam. That was one of the projects that we did. We've also done 3 or 4 boreholes. Now, a borehole is where we bring in drilling equipment and we drill down to, in the case of the ones we did, between 230 to 280 meters in order to get water. And while you might get water at 100 meters, we keep going until we reach the biggest water table that we can get, so that this water will last forever and it won't run out. And so we've done 3 or 4 of them, all with the help of Rotary, numerous shallow ground wells and pipeline projects. The first major pipeline we did was back in 2004, and that was the first All-Ireland Rotary project that I ever did. And thank God that was very successful. That was water to a local school. And we followed that up in 2007, 2008 with water for the village, the actual village of Rombo. I call it town. And then Matt Porter falls around the place hysterically laughing because it's like a couple of mud huts and tin huts gathered together. But for us, it's town. It's our town. It's where the market is and the few little shops are and that. So we brought Rombo water into Rombo town. And recently, last year, we actually upgraded that project and changed the pump that had been supplied in 2008 to a solar pumping system, because the population has grown so much that we needed to be able to provide more water to more people, and the pump we had just wasn't sustainable. So we went with a more efficient method of pumping, which is solar. So all of the water projects, I think, bar maybe 5 small shallow ground wells, have all been Rotary sponsored projects. Just imagine the amount of people who now drink clean water thanks to Rotarians. I mean, you can't even put a number on it. You really can't. And even more important right now, a lot of that water is going into schools. So, you know, at home in Ireland, we take for granted, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Not so easy around here because most people don't have water in their homes. But at least if they have water in the schools, it makes it easier for the kids. Health, another big thing for us. We have fitted out 2 empty buildings and turned them into government health centers. Now, these facilities, because they're government operated, means that all the medication provided in the community is free. There's a very small charge sometimes of like 50 shillings, which is about 50 cents, or 100 shillings, which is €1, for some treatments. But malaria, TB, and typhoid, all free medication, and HIV medication, all provided free by the government in these facilities. Before we opened these, pregnant women who wanted to give birth would have to travel up to 60 kilometers to reach the health center. And often that was on a bicycle, not in a car, and certainly not in an ambulance, but on a bicycle. A bicycle, not even a motorbike. Nowadays, we're a little bit more advanced. We have a lot of motorbikes. But back when I came here first, it was bicycle. So these health centers were badly needed and have seriously improved the life of, in particular, women, because when they're pregnant, they can attend the prenatal and the postnatal clinics, so they can be checked out to make sure there's no problems while they're pregnant, and afterwards they can go for immunization. When I came here first, immunization was done a lot by a mobile clinic. So the clinic would go out every Tuesday into the bush. And so like today, it would, this Tuesday, it would go to one area. And in order to immunize, to open the vial of the vaccines, they had to have a certain amount of people. So if it was measles, let's say there's 5 doses in a vial, they weren't allowed to open that vial unless there was 3 people there who needed that. So as a result, often women would come, there wouldn't be enough for the measles vaccine, for example, and so they'd be told, no, come back the next time. The next time is a month from now, and maybe they didn't come, maybe they didn't have the 50 shillings to come then, and so they missed. So many children didn't get vaccinated. With the new health centres, they get vaccinated without any of that stress because the facilities are much nearer to them. We decided 3 years ago, 2018, that one of the big issues that children face is problems seeing the blackboard in school because of eye problems. Now, Jerry's been here and Matt's been here, so they can tell you, go into any classroom in Rombo and you won't find any child wearing a pair of glasses, not one. And I'm wearing glasses since I was 6. So I know that's not normal. It's not that they don't have problems. It's simply that they've never been tested. So we decided, and we said that's going to be our next big project, to build an eye clinic. So Kate Coleman, who I know addressed Jerry Kern's conference in Newbridge, gave us a dig out, and she spoke to Rotary Club of Lisburn. They got some money together. Anyway, the be all and end all is we now have an eye clinic here in Rombo. So we started out in 2019 with an existing room in the local health centre that we fitted out with all the equipment necessary to do visual acuity, check for cataracts, check for glaucoma, that kind of thing. And we go into schools and we test every child. Where necessary, we give the kids glasses for free because they really can't afford them. So we got a lot of donations and we're able to give free glasses to kids. And then we were to start the actual construction last year, 2020, but then the world went crazy and everything was shut down here. And so we decided to put that on hold because I wouldn't risk bringing in deliveries from Nairobi or Mombasa to our health center with the risk of bringing infection with it. So we put that on hold. However, we started construction 2 weeks ago. Foundations are now dug. We're waiting for the engineer to come and inspect them. And we expect to have the building complete by the end of June this year, and then fit out, please God, in July. So once that happens, we'll be able to actually do cataract operations. Recently, we had a visit from some AMREF doctors because of the eye clinic. They came to do some eye operations on it's trachoma, where the eyelashes turn in. So they were able to do them in our existing eye clinic. Even though we don't have an operating theatre yet, they just used the clinic that we have and did those operations. They did about 20 in one day, 1 day and a half. They started at 9 in the morning, finished the next day at lunchtime. So just imagine what we'll be able to do when we have a purpose-built, fully functioning little theatre in our new building, which will open, please God, in July. Again, all Rotary funded, all Rotary funded. I got some funding from a friend of mine from the Netherlands to pay for medications and to pay the ophthalmologists that we have there until the government, who are giving us a government paid ophthalmologist in July, August, hopefully.
And Elaine,
So
how many people have you tested so far to date?
Up till the beginning of 2020, we had tested 1,700 children. Last year, we didn't do so much because you know, schools were closed. Our schools closed here in March last year and didn't reopen until January of this year. So that had to be put on hold. But now we're up and running again. We also do a little mobile clinic. So we have a little tent that we bought and we set it up in Rombo town or in the bush, and we, you know, send out word we're going to be there, and we test the local community. We've done quite a number of them, and so we're back on track again. We can't go into schools because of the COVID restrictions, but if the schools, we've informed all the schools if there's an issue to bring the children directly to the clinic and we can see them there. So as I say, again, all Rotary funded, like 90%. And finally, education. So Matt asked me to do a list of projects recently that we've completed. And I started doing it and I said, I can't believe we did so much. I didn't realize we'd built so many classrooms. We actually started 3 brand new schools. So we started 1 boys boarding school and 2 day schools from scratch. There was nothing there before. There's now a school. Okay, we didn't build everything, but once we started it and got the first few classrooms up, then other agencies come in and add to what we have done, which is what it's all about. So we've done many classrooms, and we also sponsor children into primary, secondary, and college. In fact, one of our sponsors is there. Jerry is a recently added sponsor to our list. He sponsors a young girl, a young boy actually, here in Rombo. So we sponsor kids into their education because that is something that will again change their lives. You know, we can have all the seminars we want telling them FGM is bad, but if they're not educated, they're still going to live the old-fashioned tribal ways. Whereas if we educate them, then they realize this is not right. We don't need to do this. So education really is the key to everything that, you know, that we do. An educated person won't drink dirty water. An educated person, you know, it just knows to bring their child to the hospital at the first sign of a fever, as opposed to trying some local witch doctor recipe first and then going to the hospital when it's too late. Education is the key to everything. And hopefully with the additions we've made to schools and with the sponsorship, that really will make a difference. As part of our COVID mitigation, we gave all schools a water tank with a foot pedal operated water pump, so that, and soap, and we gave them thermoguns, and we gave them individual desks for kids, because up to this, there's a little bench with another bench in front of it, where kids would be sitting 4 and 5 to a desk. They're still doing it in a lot of schools, but we've supplied over 500 desks in the last 8 months to schools to try to promote some kind of social distancing. So that's what we've done with education, and I think I've covered all of our major topics. But as I say, I couldn't do any, like DG Tom is there. Sorry, Matt, just let me say, DG Tom is there, and his was one of our big projects as well. You know, I can't begin to say the difference that Rotary has made in the lives of the people in Rombo. And finally, in case I forget, you can't come now, but next year, please God, when you're all vaccinated and everything here is wonderful, you have to come down and see the difference you've made, because we have a perfect house. I call it 5-star bush accommodation. Jerry and Matt can either attest to or disagree with me on that, but I call it 5-star bush. We take care of you, basic but comfortable accommodation, and go and see the difference that you have made in the lives of children here in Rombo. So thank you for the time. I don't know if there's anything I missed. Somebody tell me. And I'm sweating.
I was just going to add, we're not sweating here, Elaine, it's cold. I was just going to add, one of the schools, for example, the Belgrove School in Lamongo, that has 400 children in it. 400 children. I mean, that's, you know, making a huge difference. It's not a school with 20 people in it. These are busy schools, And it's fantastic that we can, as Rotary, we can start a few classrooms, and then other aid organizations come along. And if we pay the teachers for the first few years, the government will then continue to pay the teachers. So the government step in. They are doing their piece. But if we didn't get there at the time frame we do get there, there'd be 20, 30, 40 years before they'd have a school in Namongo. Maybe they'd never have a school there. And kids would be walking huge distances, you know, through the bush, you know, and it's dangerous, through the bush to try and get to these schools. So we're able to build these schools, and we don't want to change the culture of the people. We don't mind if the Maasai continue to live like Maasai forever and a day, but there are things we do want to change. FGM being one. You know, we can't have people dying from diarrhea. We just can't have that. You know, we can't allow that. We can't have people sitting on a wall with their eyes streaming, roaring red, in serious pain for the want of a single drop. That will cost us nothing. The government will, if we set up the clinics, the government will provide the medicine for free. They provide the teachers for free in the school. So they are doing their part. They're doing a fantastic job, but we need to start the stuff. And Rotary are really good and really formidable when, as I said, when we get behind something, Rotary can make things happen. I've watched it for the last 17 years down with Elaine. It's amazing stuff. We don't have a bottomless pit of money. We can't solve all the problems, but we can solve problems when somebody says, I want to fund that idea, that school, that classroom, that desk, that child's education, and it could be €50 for a year with food for one child, and it could be different sums of money depending on what schools they go to. But you know, it's a small sum of money, but money they don't have. So their children won't go unless we find a sponsor to send that child, or find that piece of medicine, or find that money to build that eye clinic. It's amazing work. We can connect all the dots then. We've had Rotarians from the UK down there, Rotarians from all over the world, really, I suppose. And it's great that they can go spend 1 week of their entire lives, of all the holidays that you're likely to take, just 1 week standing in this village, and don't bring anything, and don't go with any preconceived ideas. Just go, just be in the village. Elaine will show you projects and show you people and show you things. It's a complete eye-opener. Of course, you can stay and do game reserve stuff afterwards, or you can make a holiday of it. Wouldn't that be great to do all that again? But 1 week of your entire life, it's everybody. If I showed you the quotes that I have, the emails that I get from people that have been there, I haven't had a bad email from anybody that's been there. Everybody has a unique experience. Everybody has a different experience than the one that they thought they were going to have. And it's just amazing just to go and see. When they come home, then they can decide what they want to do, if anything. You know, most people get connected with a group of people and you know, raise some money, I don't know, a coffee morning, a golf game, or something else. And you can solve problems. We can bring water. Those little pumps that Elaine was talking about, they were costing €3,000 or €4,000 to change the dynamics of an entire village. We put a pump in, suddenly the women aren't walking 20 kilometers that way every other day to collect water on big, heavy gallon drums on their head, carrying it for 10, 20 kilometers so that they can wash, eat, cook, you know, clean, wash everybody's eyes so they don't end up with those terrible eye problems, you know, and the water's not clean. For the want of, you know, 3,000 or 4,000, which we can earn, and we can raise that money in an afternoon almost, and we drill a simple hole with tools that they don't have. Sometimes we have to bring in big machinery, very big machinery, to build very deep holes, but we can bring that equipment in, provide that well, and change the dynamics of that village. The women now are not walking, they're making sure their kids are going to school. They may be going to school themselves, changing their own lives, changing everybody's lives. It's win, 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 win up and down the street, this stuff. And it's easy to do. And you don't have to give up. I still drive my Lexus, and I still have my job, and I still have all the stuff that I have, right?
Wish I did.
It's not about giving every penny. It's not about giving, hear that, and not about giving every penny that you have. It's just about trying to make a difference. Rotary is a fantastic vehicle for that. We really are. We don't know it. We tell like we're the world's worst market, but we're a phenomenal organization. Sorry, Tom.
Yeah,
Okay.
Lorraine is going to have to quadruple the visitor centre after that commercial, because after lockdown here, we all want to get the hell out of here. Lorraine,
And you'll all be welcome.
I know we will be. One day, maybe before I leave this planet, I will get there. How many people would you say, through the endeavours in Rombo, because I know it's not just isolated to that one village, because you've brought water, sanitation, you've brought irrigation, you've brought clinics, you've brought schools. How many people would you say have been involved in the projects? And I do know that both Jerry and Matt go out there, and I hasten to say very quickly, because there are those who might think differently. Both Jerry and Matt go out at their own expense, no cost to anybody else. But going back to the group, how many people would you say, Elaine, have benefited from the work in Rombo?
Okay, well, Rombo in itself is 562 square kilometers. And we decided when we set up that we wouldn't go outside of that. When we started, the population was about 30,000, and it's now 50,000 people.
Oh, God.
So I would say that in one way or another, 40,000 of that 50,000 have been touched by something that we've done. Do you know what I mean? It might not be everything. It could be in one area they got water, in another area there's a clinic, in another area there's a classroom, in another area a sand dam. So of the entire population, I'd say approximately 40,000 have been touched by our project in some way or another.
4 times the size of Athlone.
Really?
Yeah, incredible.
May I come in here, Jerry here? I'd just like to echo what Elaine has said and what actually Matt particularly has just said with regard to, number one, what Elaine does down there. It's miraculous. It's an absolutely fantastic work, and it is so good for Rotary to be involved in such a tangible way. But one thing, I'm not acting as the travel agent for Maasai, but the one I think Matt and I have been there together twice, and I know many Rotarians throughout the whole country have been there. But it's an absolutely unbelievable, unforgettable holiday. It'll be a holiday that you will never ever have again anywhere else. And a couple of things is that when you were there, you see the fantastic work that's undertaken by Elaine and has been contributed by Rotary. You see the benefits to the local population and to the people and the farmers and the children through education, and the mothers and families through health and so on and so forth. But there's an extraordinary thing, and I call it the natural benefit of being there. And it was actually Elaine who put it in context for me. When you were there, and I'll make the context. Elaine and I one night were out on the veranda having a drink just before dinner, and the sounds, the natural sounds in Kenya of nature, the natural smells, the animals, so on and so forth. It's really so extraordinary. And Elaine, you'll probably remember filling in the gaps for me. And I remember reading a book many decades ago, and it was The Snow of Kilimanjaro by Ernest Hemingway. And he lived in that area while he wrote that book many years ago. And he went back to America, went back to Cuba. And to the day he died, he said he could never get the smells and the noises, the natural noises, and so on and so forth from Kenya out of his soul. And it's so phenomenal. It resonates with you forever and a day, what you see and hear there from a natural perspective, in addition to all the good and fantastic work that Elaine does there. So that's my pitch for a holiday in Kenya for a week. Well worth it. I encourage everybody.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you very much. for your kind words. You know, I often say to people, I can show you all the videos, I can tell you everything you want to know, but you've got to be here to get the smell, the feel, the taste,
Yes.
and the whole sensation of it. That's the only way.
Yes. Well, thank you, Elaine.
Okay, guys, we have a bit more time, so it's open forum. Anybody else want to throw a question to either Matt or Elaine? It's an absolute miracle that we can get, miracle of Zoom, that we can get into Africa, 4,000 miles here. Elaine on her phone is brilliant, Elaine. And Matt, thanks for setting it up. So I think Tom Mulligan there has something, yeah.
Yeah, just a question there. I just wonder, I have two questions. First, the Light of Maasai project, is that a solely ran Rotary project, or is there other organizations involved in it as well?
I'll take money from anywhere, Tom. I'm not fussy. I don't care who gives me money. So that's the truth.
Yeah, no, I think it's
so yeah, I've had aid in the past from Electric Aid Ireland, who are an ESP charity, from friends and family members of my own, former business colleagues, anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is true to say that by and large it is a Rotary. I mean, we set it up as a registered charity. So it's a registered charity in Ireland, and Elaine is registered down in Kenya. In fact, the Kenyan government have given Elaine a very special award. It's called an OGW, which is the Order of the Grand Warrior. That's actually a very, very high, it's like an OBE. It's a very high award they give to Olympians, they're athletes that win Olympic medals and so on. So Elaine has been acknowledged in country and by Rotary. And it is true to say, I think that most of the money that goes down to Elaine does come from Rotary clubs in Ireland, Rotary clubs in the UK. I brought the international guys from RIBI there that were very impressed. We brought other people there just to make sure that what we were doing, we brought doctors there. We've got all kinds of people there to make sure the kind of work we're doing is the right thing to do. You know, like, because there's so many choices. You know, building schools locally, sticking in the one area. Should we venture outside that, or should we try to create, you know, an area of excellence, if you like, in terms of health, clean water, and education? That's what we're trying to do. You know, trying to solve the problems of one area rather than go too far. I will say that I brought my father-in-law there from Chicago. He was 80 when I brought him there. Not a bother on it. Loved it. You know, he just loved it. You know, in fact, he just, when we went to see the sand dam, he couldn't believe that we would build a sand dam across that very wide river. It was 60 meters wide, and that we could get 101 tons of rock by hand into that base of that river to build that dam. You know, and we did it by hand so that the local people would own that dam when we leave. They own everything. Elaine sets up committees. So there's a water committee made from the local villages around, and they own the pipeline, they own the tanks, they own the classrooms, they own everything. You know, we need to be able to walk away and say, like, if we're hit by a bus, or indeed if Elaine wants to come home, I'll be the first to meet her up in the airport and say she did a fantastic job. But the projects need to stay there on their own when we leave. So they own those projects. They look after them. They collect a small bit of money so that they have money to fix things themselves. When the elephants come along and dig up a pipeline, they don't come looking to us to fix the pipeline. They fix the pipeline. And that's important that they're able to do that. So we did it in a very sustainable way. And Rotary likes that. And of course, it has to be like that.
And
Sean, just before that, what time of the year is the best time to visit, number one? And number two, do visitors get involved in activities down there and so on, or what's the position there?
Well, you can see me doing this all the time here. It's our summer here at the moment, so it's bloody hot. It's awful. Plus, you know, we've needed this rain to cool things down, so there's not enough rain, so I'm still sweating. So this is not a good time to go. Best time is our winter, which is actually your summer. And our winter is like a really good Irish summer, you know, so around July, August, thereabouts, even into September are all good months. All the Rotarians who have come previously, most of the clubs like Enniskillen or Liverpool or Monaghan, they came around July, August. Enniskillen were last year, that was in September 2019. So that's the best time to come. Certainly not now. This is hell. This is hell.
And we have, Tom, when you're ready to go, we have a volunteers handbook. So we could email you all the things you need to know, all the things that are there, the things that are not there, the things to bring, the things not to bring, the things to say when you're there, things not to say when you're there, and all of that kind of stuff. We've developed a book of information, if you like, that we can mail to you. So if ever you're ready to go, I want to bring my two boys. My boys are 10 and 12. And they've grown up with me talking about Rombo, and they're really excited to go there. They know Elaine, they know the kids that hang around. When you walk into the village, everybody calls Elaine Naraku. She's not called Elaine anywhere in Kenya. She's called Naraku, which I think, if I'm right, Elaine means brought by children. And that's the Maasai name she got. So, you know, my kids would just have a ball there. I mean, they won't know what to make of it. In football fields without grass, goals that are made out of
without
sticks.
football. What are you talking about? Without football.
Yeah. So, but they'd have a ball there to sit in a classroom that has nothing in it, you know, but it's still a classroom. It doesn't have those, you know, whiteboards and video screens and everything that they have in my kids' school, but and in your kids' school. But you know, but they would just love it there. They really would. So that's the next trip.
Sean Elaine, I think, Sean, you've
yeah, just I'd like to compliment Elaine on her work. And I have a sense of it because I've been in Africa myself a couple of times with the Boher project, the heifer projects, and I've done some training out there. So I have a sense of where you're coming from, and it is fabulous sitting out there and taking some of these trips to remote villages and all the rest of it. But just a question basically on the project. As I say, I know nothing about what you're doing now, only, but I know from the Boher and all the rest of it that governance is very important in relation to how money is spent, and maybe governance around how, you know, how you assess the environmental impact, for example, of the sand traps, and maybe impacts on villages downstream. As I say, I don't know the geography, but how do you get around sort of ensuring you get the best technical advice and you know, the best people to work with, where you can assure people like ourselves that, you know, the governance is good, that there's no negative environmental impacts, or, you know, and there's no agendas, or there's no corruption basically in the system. Yeah.
Okay, so before we start any project, we have to get permits from the county government here in our county is Kajiado County. So, for example, for the sand dams, even for the eye clinic, which is in an existing health center, we must go and get the proper permits to build, or permits to drill if it's a well, and we have to have an environmental impact assessment carried out by the relevant department from the government. I don't get to meet these people. They don't contact me before they come. I put in the application. They send somebody down. I never know when they're coming. They do their environmental impact assessment, and then I am either granted or not granted the permission. I've never not been granted, because before we start anything, most things we're doing because the community have asked me to do it. So, you know, and it's in an area where the project is needed. So thank God so far we have never been refused any permissions. As regards the proper workmen or things like that, I'm, as Matt told you, I'm 18 years here. So I have the architects from either the county government or private architects that I can use, who, for example, drew up the drawings for the eye clinic. And they then take on board engineers who have to, for example, as I said, with the eye clinic, now we go no further because the county engineer must come and inspect that our foundations are dug to the proper depth, because it's going to be a single story building or a 2-story building. So they have to check everything is right. So I control the money. So I know where every shilling goes, and I don't take on any contractor that doesn't have all the certification that is necessary to do the job that we're giving them. So I really control most things and use then the proper department to get the relevant permits or approvals from before we start anything.
Well, that's great. Thanks, Elaine. That's worthwhile.
Okay, no problem.
It's a really good question, Sean. The beauty of having Elaine there for so long is when we identify a project, be it a water, health, or education, it's something the community needs, and we know how to provide it. There are a lot of things that people might suggest to us that we say, no, that won't work, or no, we can't finish that. We might be able to start, but we can't finish. We can't do an A to a Z, soup to nuts. You know, we put as many projects in the bin, I suppose, as we put on the table. And it's so important that we have Elaine on the ground and that she knows the people that she needs to interact with in order to get the right job done in the right way and get it started, get the middle of it and get to the end of it.
Yeah.
And photograph it at the beginning, the middle and the end. That's you know, that's not to be snuffed at. You will know we've tried to get involved in projects with other people and bigger charities, I mean big charities that have annual budgets of 80 million euro, and they haven't been able to complete some of the projects that we started with them, and it's not their own fault. I mean, things happen in Africa. It's a difficult place to do business.
Yeah, oh yeah, no doubt.
You know, we're very targeted in what we try to do. You know, if we to build a borehole, we do it properly. If it's a school, we do it properly. You know, and we don't build any old school. We build it to the government pre-design. You know, and we interact with them. So we say, if we build one classroom, will you build another? You know, it's not about we're going to do it all on our own.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about Elaine. People locally know Elaine has no money. Elaine takes no money, has no money. Nobody pays Elaine, and Elaine doesn't take any of this money. I mean, and people in the village know Elaine has no money.
We have no staff anywhere.
So what
nobody gets paid.
So as friends of Elaine, like me and other people, will give Elaine a very small amount of money a month to live on. That's a totally different thing. That's friends, family, whatever. The charity is a different thing. We have that account is audited every year. It's signed off by an accountant here, and all that goes and all.
Yeah, I know the charity regulator and all.
I think we should also say, Matt, that any monies that are doubled. So if we gave 1,000 for a particular project and put it through Rotary Foundation, that Rotary Foundation International has shown audit that money is actually spent. It doesn't go into a suspense account and then never used. It's audited and generally through a Rotary club within the vicinity. It could be Mombasa or somewhere else, but that money is audited through Rotary. It's never just put there and never seen again.
Yeah, we are having a problem. We are having a problem. Thankfully, not one of Elaine's projects, but somewhere else in Kenya. You know, that we're trying to get finished, and it's not. Again, it's nobody's fault. I mean, I'm not sure what exactly happened, but I know he started with good intentions. I know it was nobody's desire for something not to quite work out, but it didn't. And we got half the project done, and we're struggling to finish the other half. And you know, we may not finish the other half. We may give the money back to Rotary and say, okay, we're out. You know, but
yeah, that
thankfully, when we do projects in Rombo, they're smaller, they're more targeted, they're more succinct. You know, and before we ever start, we know we're going to be able to finish. And
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's reassuring. Yeah.
And the other thing, if I could add to what Matt was saying there, is that whatever project we I'm not muted. Yeah, whatever project that we support Elaine on, it's visible. When you go there, you see the dam, or you see the medical center, or you see the classroom, or the pumping station to bring the water into the village, or whatever. It's all visible. Nothing disappears. And actually, I've known Elaine now for several years, and I can vouch that every single donation that Elaine has received from Rotarians and otherwise has actually gone to the beneficiaries. Every single cent. There's never and has never been an issue. So what a fantastic operator and what a fantastic source to have on the ground.
Yeah.
The beauty of the project is that it's such a hands-on project. It's not pouring money into a black hole. That
Bingo.
you know that it's there for tangible for everybody to see, and I think that is absolutely brilliant, and well done to Matt and Elaine for setting up such, or for for making such a project operate so well. Has anybody else got another brief question? I just one brief one from me is that COVID, has it been a problem, Elaine, down there, the COVID?
Yes, it is. It's not as big a problem as it is in Europe, although that may change in the coming months, because while Kenya are really doing as much as they can, like we have a curfew here, you can't be out after 9 at night, and they did a whole lockdown for a certain period. They're doing testing, they're doing all the reporting, they're looking for vaccines, but unfortunately Tanzania are not. The president of Tanzania said we'll have 3 days of prayers and fasting and COVID will disappear. So that's a disaster for all of East Africa, not just for Kenya. And so they're trying to deal with him at the moment, deal with this. But so far, yes, we have something like 101,000 cases in Kenya and about 2,500 deaths currently reported. There's probably more because remote areas most likely don't test. And I know, for example, here there's an outbreak of pneumonia in the middle of our summer. Ridiculous. We don't have pneumonia in summer. So there probably are more cases than are being reported, but they're still, I would have to say, the government are doing as good a job as they possibly can, and certainly doing everything that they should be doing, social distancing, wear masks, hand wash, they're giving all the right advice to everybody and doing as much as they can to mitigate this.
Thanks for that, and hopefully you'll get the vaccine before too much longer, all going well, and hopefully the EU, I hope, will help out on that. That's important.
Yeah, I think they are.
So the hour is more or less up, and it's been a very interesting hour. I think you'll all agree. But now I want to hand over to Tom Murphy, who's going to make the vote of thanks to Matt and Elaine. Tom.
Thanks, President Billy. Recently, or the last 2 weeks ago, I looked at a YouTube of my conference in 2009, where we had Catherine, the ambassador for Kenya, who gave a moving speech to the conference on what Rotary has done for her country. I think she could have been here tonight to actually say to Elaine, who I've known for many years, what you have achieved, Elaine, in Rombo is absolutely incredible. You have a persuasive way, you are inspirational, and you have provided for the people in your area, in Rombo, life-saving services. And in our humble way tonight, we salute you.
Here.
And to Matt is, he looks a very vocal guy there tonight, and he's equally inspirational, but Matt, in his own quiet way, has supported Elaine throughout the beginning of her. We ought to remember that Elaine gave up a high-flying, I think we can call it, Elaine, a high-flying career, sold up and went back to a village to give them support in giving them the essential things in life. And she called on all her friends, and still does, to support her in doing that. And Matt has been one of the most forward of doing that, not only personally, but I know through his company as well. And Matt, you brought the project to Rotary. And for that, I thank you, because through that, we've been able to support Elaine in the work that she does in Rombo. And I hope if tonight it gives a little insight into the effect that every one of us individually, by making a small contribution to whatever we do in Rotary, and in this particular case, to supporting Rombo, can make such an incredible difference to the people in a place 4,000 miles away. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. And on that note, by the way, you can take it. We will be, the Athlone Club will be making the contribution. Tom Mulligan, did you want to come in there?
Tom Mulligan. Well, I don't know whether anybody else wants to say anything, but when they have, we will then run the final 1 minute 25 video clip that we have.
Okay. And I'll just wind it up by seconding and hear what Tom has said. It's been a fascinating hour. Thanks to the two principal speakers, and we look forward to some of us, and I'm certainly determined to make it down at this stage. I already nearly made it, but I will this time. And as I said, we will be in touch, and we will hopefully be able to give you every support, because you fully deserve it, Matt, and particularly Elaine down there in Africa. So now I'll hand over then, and thanks to Tom Mulligan, by the way, for doing the IT end of it. Thanks, Tom. And he's
Lorraine won't know what's hit her when we all arrive there.
Okay, so I think Bono is going to get the last word here before we go. Yeah. Thanks all.
Thank you.
I'm here in a clinic in Accra, in Ghana, amongst the genius doctors, nurses, and health workers who are so transforming the lives of the people in this region with very simple medications and applications, from vaccines to bed nets. Wherever I go in doing my work, the Rotarians have been there before me. It is a very humbling thing to discover just exactly what putting service before yourself adds up to when you see it in practice on the field. When polio is finally eradicated, and you know it will be soon, you stand surely in the first chapter of that book. I admire the Rotary Club's interventions so much. They're well thought out and enacted. And so I thought nowhere better than right on the field to send you my very best and really offer thanks and gratitude to what you're all doing. From Bono in Accra, thanks again. I'm here in a clinic in Accra.
Once is enough to
hear. Okay, once is enough. Thanks. Bye all. Thanks again.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Elaine.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Hillary. Well, now, there was something.
Very good. Excellent.
Thanks, Matt.
Bye, guys.
Mel, we can't hear you. Your microphone is off.
That was a good.
Yeah.
Tom.
Yes, Mel.
I only said I am speechless with admiration. I'm totally committed to Elaine, and some cause or another we should support her in.
Absolutely.
She is a magical woman and doing incredible work. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be associated with anything she would do. And thank you all very much for letting me know this was on tonight. I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
Good. Okay.
Excellent.
Mel, she's the most unassuming lady that you'll ever meet in life.
I can imagine. Yes. Thank you, Tom.
All the best.
Bye.
Good
Bye,
night
folks.
then.
Thanks, Tom, for the IT.
No bother.